Welcome to The View on Data, a monthly roundtable podcast where women in data share unfiltered stories, career lessons, and real talk about what it takes to thrive in the world of data and tech.
Welcome, folks, to The View on Data. For a little bit of context of what this is, really the goal of this podcast mission is that it's a safe space to share candid, unfiltered, real and vulnerable insights, career journeys, and just general experiences from working in data. It's a hot industry. Just, I guess, to kick it off, some intros. Let's start off with Grace over here, who's calling from hotspot on her phone.
Woo! Dedication. A hotspot.
I was going to say the context is that this is just an excuse for me to hang out with all of my friends on different teams at DBT.
Yes.
Let's see. Okay, intro. Rick, what do you want to know about me?
I want to know everything. What's your deepest secret?
I want to know your
what's
favorite
your
costume
name?
you've
What
worn
do you
to coalesce.
Ooh, costume. Ooh, okay, good. Yeah, so my name's Grace Goheen. I use she, her pronouns. I am currently the product manager of DBT Core. I've done a handful of different roles during my almost 4 years at DBT, which feels crazy. I keep joking that I'm a senior. I love to wear costumes. I'm sad I'm not in a costume today. I think I should have worn one.
Just to embarrass me?
Specifically, I like to wear costumes at data conferences to embarrass Lauren. Because every time she sees me, she gets so much secondhand embarrassment. It brings me a lot of joy.
I really do. I get really
so good.
It's like, this is serious, actually.
Yeah.
But I do. I have a love and passion for theater and the arts, as well as data, which I don't actually think those two things are as different as people sometimes think they are.
Who's your first love, though? What's your number one?
Pick? Oh gosh. No, you don't have to choose. Like, they let me put on costumes and get on stage here.
Grace, you married the DBT community in front of hundreds of people.
Yeah, no, that's a point.
Baby.
Yeah.
I feel like you chose.
Yes. Yeah, it's a good point.
That's fair, but is that choosing theater or is that choosing data?
Yes, that's a good point. I think it's true. You used theater to choose the DBT community.
I like it.
And I respect that.
This is why Lauren is in charge of my PR.
First advice, stop wearing costumes.
Oh no, I'll never stop.
Bring it all.
Okay, well, I guess that then segues to Lauren. Tell us more about you.
My name is Lauren Benezra. I use she, her pronouns.
LB?
LB, some people call me. Logan started calling me Nez recently. I don't like it, but I don't know about that. I don't know about that one. I am a lead analytics engineer on the data team. And so I used to also be on ProServe. So I worked a lot with our external customers at DBT. I've been here for almost 4 years. And fun facts about me. I chose cats. I'm married to cats. Essentially. Yeah. I love cats. I have 4 cats. Only one of them can see. Only 2 of them have eyes.
Is this a fun fact? Or?
It's a fun fact.
Okay.
They bump into each other a lot.
Oh my god.
Like, I need video so bad.
And I like to do jujitsu. And I got into data because I was a math nerd. And at some point, someone was just like, here's SQL, like, do this and figure this out. And I was like, okay. And then I just did it. And it was super fun. I really like cleaning up messes. That's my favorite part of DBT is like, here's a rat's nest, go make it pretty.
So satisfying.
Real. I'm gonna popcorn Faith.
Oh, wow. The popcorn method. Very appropriate for your resident technical instructor. I tell my students to popcorn all the time and they don't know what it means. They do not. It's kind of embarrassing. I'm Faith. I'm a lead technical instructor at DBT. So Lauren and I used to be on kind of sister teams. The technical instructors and the professional services folks both work with our external customers. But the technical instructors work in shorter, more frequent engagements as opposed to the longer, less frequent engagements on the ProServe side. And I got into data because I lost my job in the pandemic in 2020. Super uncommon story. I don't think anybody has actually had that happen before. It's just me. And I took a boot camp. I joined the ranks of the gazillions of boot campers that are in the data world, and had a TA who now works for Fivetran on their demand gen side, I believe. And she got me my first job in data at PopSockets, which was very fun. So, I owe my entire career in data to a woman who was willing to take a chance on me. So,
as we all do.
Actual facts.
Yes. I don't have as many cats as Lauren, but I do have a cat with one eye. So we can kind of, we have a little bit of a cat connection there. And my fun fact about me is an abandoned project I'm dying to get back to is a podcast with two of my besties that we started in the pandemic where we recorded our opinions on fan fiction. So maybe I'll find ways to incorporate fan fiction into data somehow. I got to cook on that one though.
Nice.
Yeah. And my other fun fact is that people often think my name is Paige when they hear it. So I think that means Paige Berry should go next.
Do Faith and Paige sound similar?
True. It's true. It happens a lot.
Wow, that's amazing. Awesome. Well, I'm waiting to hear somebody think that I say my name is Faith, but so far it hasn't happened yet. But I'll look out for that. My name is Paige Berry. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a lead data analyst in the internal data team here at DBT Labs. And boy, fun facts. Well, I've been working as a data practitioner for 21 years, y'all. It's very long journey. And it's been pretty fun though, most of the time. Also, I really love to make emojis, different change colors or combine them, or I have most of my college stuff was all art, so I'm very into visual design and stuff like that. But making emojis is one of my favorite things, and I really love to then see them used in the company Slack. I get a little hit of dopamine.
What's a Paige Berry emoji?
Yeah.
What's your top one?
The what's the data on your emojis? Right? You've done Slack analysis.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Clearly the data exists because Leah's the top emoji user. So
yeah, the one that I love the most that I see around is the orange DBT heart.
Oh, that's yours.
Oh my god!
The company, I'm yeah, we need that one. So
you can quit now, Paige.
Yeah,
so excited. Thanks,
it's an accomplishment.
Also, my favorite one though is really the C of WTF. It's the little head floating in the ocean with the question marks.
Very appropriate as a data analyst.
Love it. Yeah, exactly right. Oh yeah, so that is me. I also have cats. I have 3. They all have eyes, but sometimes I think they can't see because they also run into stuff. It's really hilarious. All right, I'm gonna popcorn to Vic.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what am I doing here?
You're a moderator, Rick.
I know. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. It's jokes. They're jokes. I know exactly what I'm talking about here. No, my name is Erica Louie or Rick. I go by either or pronouns or she, her. I'm currently leading our analytics folks on our engineering product and design vertical. I used to be the head of data, stepped down last year, a year and a half ago, something like that. I don't remember. But I live in Los Angeles. It took me a long time to accept that I love data. But once I accepted it, I really leaned into it. One of my dreams is to be able to collect all of my data like
Yeah.
everything from like my sleep data, fitness, what I eat, activities, like
Spotify
financial, and just
history.
make it into a dashboard. That's like
Yeah.
how much I love it. And
This is your dream.
it's really something you could do in a weekend. But
For sure. For sure.
I'm trying to do other things with my life.
That's probably important.
Yeah,
Some would
probably.
say
Do like other things.
Just a few.
my life is data. If you think about it, everything is data.
It's so true.
I specifically got a automatic litter box because I had an open API.
Sick.
But
Love.
some of my other fun facts is I actually studied political science and Italian.
What?
Italian?
Love this.
Italian, parlo italiano.
Oh.
Pero non sono sicura se il mio italiano è buono.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are we going to do the rest of this podcast in Italian?
Oh, can you say
Oh
that
gosh, I
slower
hope
with
not.
like a little gondolier paddle?
And this.
Yeah.
And a little bit of this. Yes.
But yes, and somehow I landed in data, which is why I firmly believe that anyone can really be a data practitioner. It's just that there's just way too much data jargon out there
Oh my God.
and like tech jargon that's low-key just gatekeeping,
Oh
when
my
in
God.
reality it's so much easier to explain things without trying to use like a lexicon that's not like in everyone's verbiage. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that that's all of the great intros. Honored to be here with everybody. But let's kind of get started. I know that Lauren dove a little bit into this, but how did we get here, y'all? What's your personal story? Because I think that the data industry, at least when we were getting into our careers, wasn't really this formalized thing. And so
No.
what I love about it is that a lot of senior folks who have been in this industry came from like varying paths. And I think it's always like very interesting to hear about that. So Lauren, let's talk about you, because you kind
I
of
love
alluded
Lauren's
to your
story.
Yeah.
personal story of how you entered the data field. What sparked your interest? What were the
I
career
would love to
pivots,
talk about it.
defining
But
journey?
I will say, this is so interesting because I was just going to say that I think Grace is the only person that I know that has a degree in a data associated field.
I know.
my God,
I
really?
was really
Whoa,
so
Grace,
bored.
I do? Yeah.
Baby, though.
The only person I know. And that's like, it's so unique to even have. Grace, you're not even close to boring. You're like annoyingly interesting. So don't even. Okay. But like like Rick said, like it didn't exist. It didn't exist as a degree. It didn't exist as a class in my undergrad. It barely existed as a class in grad school for me. Like it is not, the data world is not something that was formalized until really recently. And so when I was in undergrad, in 2008, 2009 at Berkeley, like you went into math, like you were a math person, and you were either a snobby, pure math person, that was me, or you were a very smart and practical applied math person. I should have been that person, but I wasn't. Or you were a statistician. And those people are killing it right now, and they made money immediately after college.
Quants. We love the quants.
Yes.
But I was a very young and very stupid person. And so I was like, yeah, pure math. Like that's going to be amazing. Like, let's just do theory. And so I just did mathematical theory, and it was the hardest thing in the world. And I thought about quitting college several times. And then I graduated at the ripe young age of 19. And I had a college degree in something that was completely impractical. And I didn't have any skills, and I didn't know what to do with my life.
You were 19 and you were like, I don't know what to
Lauren
do with my
graduated
life.
so early too.
I was a tiny baby. I was a teenager when I graduated college. So
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
it like, what do you do? You can't make decisions. You can't know what to do with your life. So I tutored high schoolers for like 7 years, and basically taught children how to like pass tests and like how to do math. And then I went to grad school and finally studied applied math as like okay, I need to like do a practical thing. And learned how to code, and then got a job doing population dynamics for like a startup doing cellular stuff, like growing meat from cells. And then they gave me their robots, they're like lab robots, and they're like, figure this out. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I can do laboratory robotics that run on Windows 7 and can't be connected to the internet. and then someone handed me DBT and like a book on SQL, and they were like, figure this out. And I was like, oh, okay, sick. And then that's when it really was like, this is the thing that makes my brain tingle. Like doing this Marie Kondo cleanup of the mess that all of these other people have created, and like, let me put it into a pretty little box with a nice bow. And that was it.
Awesome.
Grace, let's hear your boring story.
Grace, who still considers herself a child. Let's see. Okay. Yes, I did study sort of data in college. I'm super special. So cool. So I got my undergraduate degree in essentially like industrial engineering type stuff, but I took data classes in college, and specifically senior year, there was this amazing class called, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget, but it was like a really, really intense data course, specifically in like Python and R. So it wasn't SQL related, but it was like the first class, and I took it like right at the end where I had that aha moment, Lauren, that you described of like, oh, this is fun math. Cause I always also liked math, but it was so fun and compelling. And that class was sort of, the final project culmination was like telling like a story with the data that you could find somewhere on the internet. And so I did some project about like wildfire data and like talked about like the progression over time. And it was such a cool like experience to be able, Rick, back to you saying like you want to track your data of your whole life, just to be able to describe something and tell a story and like back it up with like actual information, math and figuring that out and figuring out how to like show the data in like a compelling way. It was really cool. And then I graduated in the midst of COVID, Faith. So I was a COVID graduate, baby. So graduated 2020.
Girlies.
Yeah. And I had a job lined up. I'd done theater as well. And so I had this like engineering degree and had this interest in theater. And so I had this job lined up for essentially this consulting company that was kind of at the mix of those two things. So it did technology consulting, but for media and entertainment. I was like, perfect. This is a great combo. I'm going to love it. And then because COVID happened, all of the like media and entertainment companies did not really have money for consultants. And so I was like put on the bench for a long time, which is what you just called it, consulting companies, when you're like in between projects. And during that time, I also did a boot camp. But it was sort of like an internal, like a boot camp internal to my company, focused on SQL and DBT. And then because of that, I caught the opportunity to work for like the internal data team at that company while I was on the bench. So before I was put on projects, I was just like working with a DBT project on like the internal data, which was really cool. And then eventually I started doing consulting work for essentially people that wanted to use DBT or were like migrating to DBT. And that was a ton of fun. And I had so much like joy using the product. And I feel very spoiled because most of my data work that I've done is using DBT, which I know is like very, not very common. I'm like very spoiled in that.
Lucky.
But it did feel so like magical and so fun. And so because of that, I saw a job opening at DBT that was like consulting for DBT at DBT. And this is the professional services team that I was on with Lauren when I first started at DBT. And I wasn't really looking for jobs broadly. I was like, I want to work at DBT. And this seemed like a perfect pathway to move over here. And so that's what I did. And I think I sort of lied on my resume and said I had a lot more experience than I did. You can ask Jess. Because he interviewed me and I was like, yeah, I've worked with data so much.
Well, you're so convincing.
I like convincing. That's the theater.
That's
the
theater, right?
Yeah.
Theater, yes.
Yeah.
Very key.
So yeah,
Nice.
I moved over to DBT and then was on ProServe for like a year and a half. And then I wanted more control and power over the type of things that DBT could do. And so I had the
Basically,
lovely
Grace just kept complaining.
Yeah.
Real. But that's what gets shit done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes things better.
Need a squeaky wheel.
I remember
Exactly.
making like an internal diary of like everything I was mad about.
Wait, did you steal my work journal? Like,
This is amazing.
It's just like, oh, this doesn't work, or like this doesn't, like I have to hack this together. Because I was doing so much like DBT implementation, all these companies and all these different types of projects. This was just like a venting journal that I certainly sent over to some people that were on the product team at the time. And then I had the opportunity, my dream job opened up when Jeremy was promoted, and there was an opening for Jeremy Cohen, who previously was the product manager of DBT Core. And so I applied, and I was scared out of my mind because I had no experience in product management. And
With that theater background. Really?
the theater background pulled me through, of course.
Again, yeah.
Again. And so it's been a delight. I moved over there, oh my gosh, a while ago now, and it's been so much fun. It's kind of the perfect combination for me of like getting to still be involved with data work, but also shaping like tooling for data practitioners, and to do so like with such a like incredible community. I describe them as my internet friends who I get to talk to every day on GitHub. It's so much fun. So yeah,
And then you married them.
and then I married them in a dramatic ceremony in Vegas. So.
Wow, that was so boring, Grace. God.
I'm like literally asleep right now.
So what I have gathered from Grace is that she is a gaslighter and she has a very boring career journey.
Yep.
She lies on her resume.
I do think I lied. I do
Look where
think
she
it
is
said
here.
like, and look, maybe this is a tip for everyone, which is that it said like 3 years of DBT experience. I did not have that, but I did have passion and excitement, and
Well, passion, more
sometimes
And a theater background.
that can help
More
you,
footwork.
Yeah, it can help a lot.
especially like if you pass the technical thing.
yeah.
Then who cares, honestly, how much experience you've had? Like, and if you're willing to learn and willing to like show up, I think that does go far.
It
But sorry for lying on my application.
We forgive you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Totes.
Let's
Okay.
kind of pivot to Paige.
Oh, yeah. Boy, mine is a very interesting one. But I think I was just going to agree with some of the things you're saying, Grace, around. Well, I got a degree in art, and which meant I worked in coffee shops after I graduated college because art, yeah. And at one point I was working in the office of the coffee shop and was playing around with Excel and data, and I was like, oh, this is really fun. So I wanted to actually like get, because I actually hadn't fully graduated. I was still like missing some credit. So I went back to school and I applied to, I think, a job that I thought was just like sitting in the computer lab where people come in and use the computers and you help them with the printer if it gets stuck. And it said it was the IT help desk. So, and the whole interview was hilarious because I knew really very little about computers. And so the question, like the interviewer would ask me a question and I'd say, I don't know, but I can learn.
That's right. That's right.
The answer to every question, and to the point where we were laughing at the end. And I was like, well, that was a fun, adventure. And then he sent me an email like asking how to do a mail merge in Word or something. And I figured it out and sent him a response. And he's like, yeah, it looks like you can learn. You have the job. So that was like, not into computers. Yeah, that was definitely an interesting entry. And that ended up turning into a job where I was working at the foundation of the college I was going to. and they needed someone to translate a bunch of reports from one reporting system, BI tool, to another. That's when I started to learn SQL. And oh my gosh, from there, it was just like, I just fell head over heels in love with data. So lots of different like roles and lots of different places, but all related to data. So it's been like a long-term love affair for sure, but it's really fun thinking about what it was like to do jobs in data back then versus now, and the way the tools have just changed so much and how much like more fun it is. It's like so much more fun now, y'all. It's a delight. And yeah, I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, I want to hear more about your experience too, Faith.
I really relate to your like working with data in what feels like sort of the dark ages.
Yeah.
My first experiences with data were when I did animal behavior research in college and my brief stint in grad school. My degree is in ecology and biodiversity. And I love that like the nobody here like has a data degree, even though Grace's is pretty close. But
I wish I studied ecology instead of engineering. That sounds so much cooler.
It was so cool. Like, I loved every minute of that degree. Like, animal behavior is fascinating. There is like a rich history of how like feminism in particular has enriched our understanding of animals and like evolution, and how like, amazing, beautiful birds get their plumage, all of that kind of stuff. The lab that I worked in studied cricket behavior, and these were Hawaiian crickets. So like my biggest flex in college was that I convinced the university to pay for me to go to Hawaii with my PI, the woman who ran my lab. And we got to spend our days on the beach and our nights with headlamps on, looking like absolute psychopaths on university lawns. We would like sweep our feet across the grass. I can't really demonstrate this with a full body camera, but you just sweep your foot across the grass. A cricket jumps up and you dive for it. And then you catch it and put it in like a little deli cup. And we would ship these crickets back on the plane from Hawaii to Colorado and put them in our lab. And I studied the mating preferences of these crickets. So like, this was data pipelines in the freaking dark ages, y'all. Like, I brought my crickets into my little soundproof room and I played them a recorded song of like a mating call, because crickets, they rub their wings together, and that's how they like emit a mating call. And they have very distinctive preferences. So I had to sit there with red lights on my head in this dark room, because crickets are nocturnal and they don't see red light. So to them, I'm invisible. And I recorded their behavior by hand on individual sheets for one trial. And I conducted hundreds of these trials one summer and entered each piece of data manually. So I was Fivetran, moving the piece of data into an Excel sheet. And afterwards, I had to feed that data into, like, I used Jump a little bit to analyze the data. And eventually I had to use R, because the science world is like, we need your code. Like, you can't do it in Jump when it's just a GUI. Like, we need your code. But like, I knew so little about R at the time that I didn't even know how to save a variable. So like, I'm pretty sure variable assignment in R is like it is in Python, where it's literally just, X equals whatever, and that's your variable assignment. I don't know for sure. Grace can check me. Okay, cool. I didn't even know that. So I was like, why is none of this working? I found it really difficult at the time, but that was like my main experience with data. And like, I loved it so much. I was like, I'm going to go to grad school and get a PhD, and I'm going to save the environment. That's what I'm going to do. I started grad school, had like a little mental breakdown, as one does, and quit. And afterwards I was like, what am I going to do? I think I'll teach. That's what both my parents have done. And it's like first job I had. So I was like, you know what? I can't make it as an ecologist. I'm going to go be a science educator instead. So I did. I was a science educator for 5 years, really trying to like make it in science museums and the botanic gardens. But it turns out that those types of jobs, while I held temporary versions of them for about 5 years, permanent jobs in science education are actually really hard to come by. And when the pandemic hit and I lost the science education job that I had at the time at the Denver Zoo.
I love the Denver Zoo.
It's so good. I loved working there so much.
Awesome.
I loved working there, but they eliminated my job in the pandemic. And at that point, I had been trying contract role after contract role, trying to make this career work. And after 5 years of that and, you know, a life-changing illness, like sweeping the world, I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I don't think this is working. I am pretty good at numbers, pretty good at math. I have some experience in research. Let me take a boot camp and see if I can make this work. And I took the boot camp. My favorite part of it was Python, which ironically I don't use and I don't really like anymore. I'm a SQL girl all the way. Big into SQL. So after working at PopSockets, I lucked out and found an analyst job at a small supply chain startup. And it was their first analytical hire. They were like, they had a couple data dudes who were data scientists. And they were like, we actually hate analytical work. And we wish someone else would do it. So do you want to do it? And I was like, okay. So I did. I was like, you guys know I haven't done this before.
Awesome.
You'll find that your favorite language is the one that you've been using most recently.
That's, yeah.
Because
no, that's real.
like I learned Fortran and then I was like, I love Fortran. And like, yeah, that's the right face, Grace. No one uses Fortran.
Yeah, I
it's
don't even know what
terrible.
that
And then I
is.
learned Python and I was like, oh, Fortran's terrible. I love Python. And then I learned R, you know, just the most recent, the one that you're used to. It's fine.
That recency bias is real.
Yeah. Rick.
Oh my goodness. I don't know why I'm always acting like surprised when I get called up.
When you're the last
When I'm
person.
the last person. I'm so engrossed in like everyone's stories and their like the conversations. I feel like my story of how I ended up in data was like very happenstance, and I think that I loved learning about history. I loved languages. I thought I was going to be a diplomat. And then I thought that I was
a
going
diplomat, Rick.
in
Yeah,
some ways, yeah. As a manager,
Yes,
you're always a diplomat.
absolutely.
Which kind of like goes into this entire journey of like my career, and where I landed was that I had always sought things like feelings. I'm a big feelings girly, as anyone who's interacted with me knows.
Yeah.
And I decided to do political science because I wanted to be in an industry where there weren't a lot of women, and also because I wanted to work in like developing like policies to help like really underserved areas. And so I studied a year in South Africa, and I really wanted to like work with, you know, I learned a lot about like general like African like history, like, and how it all collectively, and it was just something I really wanted to do. And when I was my senior year, I got like a dream job offer from like my dream nonprofit, but they were going to pay me $30K to live in New York.
Oh my God. What?
Classic.
Oh,
Very classic.
Oh, gosh.
And I was like, I don't want to do that at all. And so one of my brother's like best friends, who's also like my brother, he was like, well, if you like Excel and like working in Excel, like maybe you should learn SQL. And I remember taking a Code Academy class, and I was like, I could do this shit all day.
Yeah, baby.
Versus doing like the other roles were one of those things where like you will do for half the day, and then you're like, what do I do? Like, give me something like to do.
Yeah.
And then there was a job opening at Fishtown Analytics. And
what's that?
What is Fishtown?
Yeah, what's Fishtown? It was what DBT Labs used to be named, circa 2017. And I distinctly remember it said, you do not need to know SQL. Like, you just have to have like some sort of desire, and you know how to explain a VLOOKUP. I didn't know what the fuck a VLOOKUP was, so I went on YouTube and I looked it up, and I was like, okay, this is a VLOOKUP. Okay, I can kind of get it. And I actually was like, ain't no way are they going to like look at my application because I just have no relevant experience. My last math class was my freshman year, and it was the second easiest math class, and I got a C. I was like, talking about Asian stereotypes. This is not me. And so I like found Tristan's email. I'm like, oh, it's definitely like this typical format. And then his photo popped up, and I was like, great, I'm gonna cold email him and say like, I want this job. And so I sent him the email.
Bold. That is bold.
And so I sent him the email, and I
what did you say in this email?
It was just like, I actually could probably pull it up.
It was just, I love VLOOKUP so much.
They're my best friends. It's actually all I ever think about.
I just like looked at the founders, and I just wrote something like, I love that this is based in Philly. I love that you're trying to innovate something. I love that this is a small company. I have no formal experience, but similar with you, Paige, was like just really being really earnest and saying like, I have such a strong desire to do this. I was like, I will put in the work to learn.
Totally.
And then Erin Vaughn interviewed me.
Legend.
Yes.
And on that call, she asked me, can you explain a VLOOKUP?
Oh my God, did you do it?
I was just like, yeah, you have like this little thing here, and then like, you know, you do this here. And I, in my head, I was like, oh fuck, like I don't know if this is correct. And she was like, I could tell by your hand movements that you know like what you're talking about. And I was just like,
all right, noted.
What we've learned so far is number 1, lie in your resume. Number 2, have a theater background so that you can lie in your resume. Number 3, Excel is a gateway drug. Number 4, use your hands.
Use the
Use your hands when you're talking. Number 5, cold email.
And power pauses.
During
the interview, and also being very earnest, like being very earnest about the things that you don't know, but also saying like, I have a strong desire to know this. And during the technical in-person round, mind you, they said, this is a startup, wear whatever you want. And I looked like a child wearing business formal. I looked like I put on my mother's shoes and I'm playing Benezra. And so I rocked up in cutoff shorts, a tank top, and a zip-up hoodie, and I was like, I'm ready to be interviewed.
Nice.
That's startup vibes, baby.
And during the interview, they're trying to essentially say that, like, okay, this was your technical interview, like technical round of like, you had to do a take-home. And then they were like, this is how you do a window function. Take what you did here and make it into a window function. And I just paused and I was like, because I have ADHD, so my brain, when they were explaining it, was like, poop. And so I went like this and I paused and I just looked like I was thinking.
Yes.
And I would repeat,
like, what's that question that they just asked me? Like,
I would repeat things back to them. I'm like, so it's this. And I was like, so it's kind of like the group buy. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, and so you could take the order ID. And I look at their face reaction. They're like, and I'm like, but that wouldn't make sense. So by order of deduction, it would be user ID, and the order by is obviously some sort of numerical thing that goes. And I was like, so it must be the date.
Yeah. So the answer again is like, apply for any job. Like,
literally,
here's what we're learning: apply for anything. You don't have to have any skills. You just have to have the gall to apply and lie a little bit.
I feel like the
I was just saying, like, I think the indicator that it's good is that you're having fun while doing it. And so if you find that you have fun, that's going to show and be way more interesting, that you're going to have fun, you're going to want to learn, you're going to be intrinsically motivated by that.
It's true.
Than by having a specific resume that matches a specific skill set.
Which, I feel like there's a lot to be said for like being a tryhard too, which like that. I love your interview story, Rick, because when I interviewed for my first analyst position, ever, and they were like, cool, come do analytics for us. I failed my first interview because it was a whiteboarding SQL interview. My boss at the time had his PhD in math from Yale. So, like not an intimidating person at all. And he sits there and he's like, can you explain a t-test to me? And I explained the t-test to him, and he's like, cool, is that the end of your explanation? I was like, I don't know, Mr. PhD in math. What do you think? So I talked back to him a little bit. And later in the interview, he asked me to do a very simple SQL query on the whiteboard. I didn't remember what a group by was, y'all. So I like failed the SQL interview by a lot. And afterwards, I hit him with my favorite interview question, which was, "Do you have any reservations about me?" Which is a bold. It's a bold interview strategy. It has gotten me really embarrassed a lot, but it has also like been very productive.
And
So
did he say, "I don't know, I think the way that you referred to me as Mr. PhD was a little condescending"? Or was that
shockingly, he didn't bring it up.
Amazing.
Instead, he was
everyone
like,
listening to this podcast, like, maybe don't do that. Just
I mean, I was his like first female managee, and I just think
he hired you.
He did. He hired me. He gave me a second chance. Like after I asked him, "What are your reservations about me?" and he said, "The rest of your interview was unusually positive. I've never heard people give such good feedback, but your SQL skills leave a lot to be desired." And I was like, "Yeah, fair. I don't know how to like prove it to you that I can learn, but I can learn." And he goes, "You know what? Take a week, study up on your SQL skills, and I'll test you again in a week." And he gave me a week, and I like studied the hell out of SQL and aced the interview the second time. And he was a terrific manager. Like we really had to fight for a good relationship because we're very different people. but once we fought for it, like we earned it. That could be too. That could be too.
Mrs. Ecological PhD.
Man, I wish. I don't have anything to show for my time in grad school. Just like,
I mean, you have a fantastic cricket like story. Yeah.
You do have a good story. Yeah.
Crickets, man. I did. Like a footballer.
The question is, where are those crickets now?
Oh.
Yeah, not in Hawaii, apparently.
No.
Mostly dead. They live about 2 months.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, they have a short lifespan, but if anybody has a reptile, I can like help you breed crickets so you don't have to buy them.
There's the compelling story there of a short tenure of life, and so it's important to pursue the things and ask for things that you really want. And I think that there is like this very common theme amongst all of us where it is like careers and doing the thing that you want. There's like a leap of faith, but it's very apparent, at least like for me, when I interview people, when someone really wants the job.
Yeah.
And I think that there is something to be said about like, you can always learn a lot of hard skills. Obviously, like don't apply for a software engineering role if like if you don't know code.
I have.
Anyway. Unless you're Paige.
I did talk my way into one of those ones.
I mean, Martin can get you really far. It's really kind of amazing. I talked myself into being a pastry chef with no skills. So
oh my god, wait, Lauren, we should talk about that. Yeah. I really want to be a pastry chef my entire life.
You just do it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to wake up early. And
that is
yes. But
so important.
I think that like there is something to be said around like I hate the term soft skill because it just softens the idea that being someone that you can work with and enjoy working with, and that you take feedback well, and that you want to grow makes a huge difference. Which kind of goes into like, you know, we applied for jobs in a completely different time period than what people are currently experiencing now. And like I have so much like heart and empathy for kids who are currently applying for jobs out of college.
It's so hard.
Rough. Totally.
In this day and age, especially as I'm sure we have all interviewed many folks and talked to like many like folks who are starting their careers, what advice would you give to people who are, whether it's like resources, how to start out, you know, folks that are feeling intimidated, building confidence, etc. What's some advice? And I think that I would love to ask Paige over here as Paige.
Before you answer, Paige, can I just say, I'm going to say be on time, and I have to go interview somebody right now. So bye.
Oh.
Bye, Lauren.
Yeah. This is such a good question, because a lot of my experience, right, has been in earlier time periods, and I know things are really unique right now, but there are definitely things I think that it's really helpful to have, say, a cohort around you who can support you during the process. I think that's one of the things that's definitely helped me. It's like people to bounce ideas off of, to vent to if you need to practice interviewing with. Practicing interviewing is some of the most valuable time you can spend. That's a lot of the things I think that I would imagine would be helpful, even in the way things currently are, is finding other folks that you can like sort of go through the journey with, and be supported by, because it can be tough. Yeah.
I also, thinking back to some of our stories, like I do think spending time like doing research about the place that you are applying for, and like having a clear reason why you want to work there, even if that's not brought up in the interview. I think the specificity of your interest and passion when I conduct interviews like always shows through. And when someone mentions to me, like if they're applying for DBT and they say like, oh, like I just saw this thing, or like we just hired a new engineering manager for the core team. And I remember he roasted me during his interview because he was like, where's the new roadmap post, Grace? Like, where's the DBT core roadmap post? And I was like, but it showed that, right, he had like done his research, and like, I do think that matters a lot.
Yes.
Because it just shows, it demonstrates interest and passion. It also probably from the person who's doing that research and interviewing, like validates that like this is a job that is actually going to be worth the time for them to do.
Yeah. I could not like plus one that more. Is such an excellent point, Grace. Absolutely. Yeah. And finding a way to show passion during the process is incredibly valuable. Like finding a way to demonstrate the things that we've been talking about that have helped us, that excitement, that passion, that willingness to learn. Those things are really, really key. And demonstrating that during the process will help.
I think it's also like worth... Oh yeah, go ahead, Grace.
I mean, just one more thing on Paige's story about like they had asked you to like prove that you knew how to do a merge or something. I remember, and that you said during the interview, like, I don't know how to do that, but I could learn.
Yes.
I like distinctly remember someone once interviewing for something, and I'd asked them a technical question, they didn't know the answer, and they said, but I can learn. Kind of similar response to you. And then they actually followed up with an email and said, like, I looked into this and this is what I've learned. And that kind of thing like really stands out from an applicant pool when you follow up on and say like, hey, I like spent 30 minutes doing some research and like this is what I would have answered, is like, oh wow, they're like proving that they can go and do that. And I think that's maybe a tip or something that stood out for me.
I love that you said that, Grace, because I was going to say the same thing too, where it's like, you know, your interview doesn't stop when the actual interview stops. It is like when you show self-awareness and self-reflection and then go in and then like say, I know that this is where I had my weaknesses. This is like where I can like show up again. And I've actually had interviewees where I think it was probably one of the worst interviews that I've ever had, where this one guy was like just being like, what, like very like, I don't know this, but like I can learn it, but in a way that was patronizing and in a way that felt like he didn't show self-awareness. And it was very obvious that he was applying for the role for like equity reasons and not for like passion. And then like never followed up afterwards. And like, I think that there is a certain like level of grace and earnestness when it comes to that follow-up.
Good point.
Like what Faith did in like her interview. And I think that like when someone has such a good impression in someone that like I would want to work with them and I want to coach them, that comes off. And so then knowing those weaknesses that are like those like technical skills and following up is huge. I think that like interviewing right now is so hard. Like entry-level jobs are so difficult. But one of the things I always recommend is when I was applying for roles that I didn't have any formal education in because I studied politics and policies, I went to people who worked at companies that I really liked and looked at like analysts and tried to see like who had a very similar career journey that like I would be potentially going through, and then reaching out to them. I think that sometimes folks will lean towards, oh, I'm going to reach out to the director of data or like, you know, the VP of data. It's actually, I would argue, better to reach out to like ICs or folks who are in roles that like you would want to strive for and hear like what they did. That was something that I think I had so much more like mentorship from.
Right. Yeah.
Good point.
I think especially in the data world, it's easy to get caught up in like, do I need to get this and that certification? Like, what tools do I need to learn? How can I prove my language proficiency? And I think like, especially in the age of LLMs being able to level us up pretty quickly in that respect, those, you know, quote unquote soft skills are like very underrated. And I think like so far what has served me pretty well in my career is like not needing to be the smartest person in the room and not needing to be like the best at what I do. And instead, I think like an attitude that I really like try to cultivate and that I think works pretty well is that like everybody has something to teach you, and you know, you're never done like learning things, and it just like is a dead end to need to be the smartest or the best at stuff. And I can't tell you how many people I have interviewed in various roles who have very impressive pedigrees. Like we turned down a guy at my last job as a data science hire who worked on Alexa for cars at Amazon. Super impressive pedigree. But I asked him in his interview, like, how would you, like, what are some strategies you would use working with more junior people? And he started out his answer with like, well, juniors are kind of lazy and their code is shit, isn't it? And so like, you know, you would think that like more people know how to be decent humans at work. They don't. I like, especially in data, like the skills of knowing how to be a kind person, knowing how to take feedback and not take it personally, and see like every feedback given to you as an opportunity to grow, no matter how poorly it is delivered. Those are skills that are anything but soft. I think we just call them soft skills because women tend to be better at them. And, you know, anything women are good at, we love to like denigrate, don't we? But like having the skills, being able to work with different people and just not taking yourself too seriously is a skill that like serves you so well and is actually really hard to come by in the data world.
I think like one other thing that stands out to me there is like an ability to be flexible, being able to work in really ambiguous environments and being able to plug in anywhere and immediately be helpful is something that is like, is soft and that it's like a fuzzy descriptor, but is like one of the most important things I think anyone can do to be successful at their job, because things change so dramatically in terms of how like what the organization needs people to flex in different ways. And I remember like back when I first started, right? And it was like, all right, you're on the bench. And I was just sitting around like, I don't know like what I'm supposed to do. Like, I think a lot of the different jobs I've had have been very ambiguous guidelines in terms of what I'm supposed to do. And I think that's really benefited me because it's forced me to learn how to like tap in and find a way to be helpful no matter what. And no matter if it's in my actual job description or a brand new thing that I absolutely do not know how to do, but I'm going to go and learn it. And I think if like, that's a skill that if you can showcase or speak to experiences where you've flexed in that way, I think that really stands out as an attribute that makes someone successful no matter what, no matter how the organization changes. It's really like you're going to be able to be helpful and productive in the longevity of the role.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, love it.
I think that that's one of the things that's really helpful working at a startup too, is that when we were then Fishtown Analytics and we were bootstrapped, I wore so many hats. And it was actually really great for me because then I got the space to know what I wanted to do because I didn't know. I was like, I'm not going to be the best, most technical Python writing data analyst. And I'm not going to be like Jeremy, who is going to also work on core. And
speak French while doing it.
I did support. I was in the support chat. I started like a DBT Learn thing, and it wasn't the thing that I wanted to do, but it also showcased to Tristan and Aaron that like you kind of like, I don't want to say like you put the company's needs first, but it was that like I would step in, which allowed me to have the opportunity then for Tristan to trust me in building our data team at like a very young age. I was like 25 when he hired me to be the head of data. And I think that like so often a lot of folks are like, I want to be a data scientist and I want to do all these things when they're just starting their careers. And it's like, as awful as this sounds, it's like you kind of have to put in the work to like then be able to move up into your career and do those things. But also, I wanted to be, when I was fucking 23 or 24, I was like, I'm going to be an ML engineer and I'm going to show to Tristan that like, I'm going to be this like super, like, I don't know. Like,
DBT does not have data scientists, notably.
Yes, we do not have data scientists because we don't know them yet. But we're actually starting to do more data science because we're at the level of maturity. Right. And I remembered like when I came back, I told Tristan, I was like, I want to do data science. I did all this like learning at BuzzFeed. And he was like, we don't need that right now, though. Yeah. And now fast forward into 3 years, I'm so much happier with where we are currently at. And it was like, even as you're doing things to flex up, also check in with yourself and say like, what has been giving me joy? And am I being very honest with myself in like the things that give me happiness? And so I feel like that checking in with yourself, but wanting to step up and not thinking 5 years ahead, think like 1 year ahead, because things change so much. Like you change so much.
It's so much. So much change.
I think it can be helpful too to think of, you know, the data world, especially as an ecosystem. Like it's a word that we use a lot at DBT generally to refer to like partners and other tools that work in the data stack. But like data is such a rich field to work in. Roles are famously poorly defined. I have met data scientists who spend all day long in Excel doing VLOOKUPs, but they're still called a data scientist. So it is just not a field where your title is going to mean the same thing at every job. And I think like when I took my first job in data, my title was Master Data Management Coordinator. And getting like just like a first position that has the word data in it, like just any word data doesn't matter. I think it'll teach you a lot about what the common struggles are of people working in data, and you can kind of find the problem space that you enjoy from there. And Rick's totally right. It takes a lot of trial and error, because I felt similarly. I was like, I'm smart. I could do machine learning. I could be an engineer. And now I could not give less of a shit about like machine learning. I don't want it. I don't care about it. Like I care about like the actual work of librarianship of your data and the organization of your data and the enablement of your professional colleagues to understand and use your data appropriately. And I actually had no idea that that is a problem space that I would enjoy. I only found that out like in the last, 2 years.
Awesome. Yeah.
I think that like having also like really good mentors is a big thing. Like DBT Slack, like not to like shamelessly plug, but I had met so many amazing mentors and like folks that I've reached out to for advice into building that confidence and like building out a more like a bigger network of folks that I can like ask for advice. And that's actually how I met Paige too. And how I met my two mentees that reached out, because they see you and they're like, I want to be able to grow my career and I resonated with you here. And so like reaching out to folks to also help mentor you if you're trying to operate off of first principles. Paige and I talk about first principles and how hard it is, because you have to like trust your gut, but you don't know who you can talk to. And so that's why like having mentors that you genuinely admire. Sometimes you see someone and you're like, oh, like they seem like really decorated and really famous in the data industry. And then when you talk to them, they're like they don't resonate with you.
Yeah.
And I think that that's also like such a really important part. And I know like Paige has mentors as well. And I know like Grace, you've had mentors, Faith, and those make such a huge difference.
Yeah.
But I think that, is there anything else that y'all want to kind of talk about in terms of like advice? I feel like we can go on for forever.
No.
We could maybe we could just end on how you found your mentors.
Ooh. Ooh.
Like, how do you ask out your mentor? You know, it's a little bit like asking somebody out on a date, right?
I actually looked at folks in the DBT community, and I specifically want to look at women. I have specifically also always applied, like I applied to Fishtown because my manager was going to be a woman. And just of like those folks that I not only admired like their career, but also how they led. Like they had like the skill sets that I really wanted to embody, and it seemed like the same values. And so I reached out to them through DBT Slack, and also within DBT Labs, seeing folks that I really admire their leadership style, were really just like messaging them and saying like, hey, can I have a one-on-one chat with you? Just to, like talk through some of the things I'm thinking about, making sure I came with like a list of questions. And then if I vibed with them, because quite honestly, there were a few that I did not vibe with. I was like, I don't really want to be mentored by them, but it was this was a really good conversation.
Right.
What about for you, Paige?
Yeah. Well, I got to meet you when I was doing a talk for Coalesce, I think in 2021.
Oh gee.
Yeah, exactly. So that was amazing. And I feel really lucky that you got to be our like talk liaison, and then that led to such an awesome relationship. And now we get to work together, which is incredible. And I think for a lot of the other mentors I've had in my life, they actually have tended to be people who were my managers, and now not all of them. I definitely had managers that maybe would not fit that role, but several of them really have turned into people who have mentored me throughout my career, like beyond the time that I was managed by them. And it's actually really incredible. They're super valuable, especially because those relationships are years long now. And it's really fun to talk with somebody who knew me when I was like first starting to like learn product analytics, for example, and to be able to talk now and about like how that person's grown in their career and how I have, and like how much more rich our conversations are now. That stuff's been really incredible. And I've also been really lucky in being able to be connected in different professional organizations that connect like underrepresented folks in tech to mentors and mentees. So that's been like super valuable and rich for me also, those relationships. Yeah. Yeah. Who else has information about how they've met mentors?
I mean, I think the programs that connect underrepresented folks to mentorship are important. I had a mentor through Data Angels, which is at Slack for Women in Data, and I joined their mentorship program and had an amazing mentor through them who essentially like coached me through my transition into DBT when I was applying for the role, because with each subsequent interview round, I was like, they can't possibly be serious. They can't possibly want me to move on to another round. Like, this is crazy. And my other like big career mentor was actually a data engineer who I worked with at my last job. And I took sort of a similar approach as you, Rick, where I noticed that he was really good at all of the things that I wanted to be good at. And so I just started poking him, being like, hey, do you have like 30 minutes to explain to me how a query optimizer works? And he was like, I would love nothing more. So like smart people often want to like share their knowledge, and it like, it helps to, like Rick said, have something specific that you want to talk about, because I'm sure it feels awkward to the average Joe to be like, do you want to be my mentor? But instead, if you're like, you're really good at SQL, how did you get so good at SQL? That's what I asked him. And it led to us like having a very productive relationship where he really pushed me to be a lot better at SQL. And there are certain things to this day, like I will never do a select distinct anymore because I know that it will make Andrew roll in his grave, and he's still alive. So like I don't want to like send him to his grave either. So.
Nice.
Little specificity, a little, you're good at something I want to be good at.
That's awesome.
I think it is like so precious and valuable to have someone like look at you and decide to like take you under their wing and help guide you. And I like thinking back on the people that have helped me throughout my career, I feel like so much immense gratitude for those people for deciding to like take a chance on me and help shape me and share their wisdom with me. And I think those have been like some just like natural, like LinkedIn slide into the DMs based on common interest. Some have also been managers, or just like coworkers, people that I've like connected with over something else. I think when you can like have some sort of connective tissue, it makes that introduction a lot easier. And then not just coming with like topics or questions, which I do think is really important. But I think back specifically to my move over to the product team from the professional services team at DBT, and Julia, who used to be a product manager here, was like, oh my God, like so helpful in helping me figure out that transition. And, you know, some of the work I got to do with her was actually, she would bring me into collaborations with her. And during my free time, right, like I would help out with, you know, specific pieces. And I even had the opportunity before I officially moved over to, she like asked, like she was set up like a sort of like shadowing opportunity for me where, my manager in professional services sort of approved for me to have time to go and fully shadow her. And that was so helpful in terms of getting to see her work. Cause I think like sharing advice is so valuable, but also just like getting to be a fly on the wall and watching someone who is exceptionally talented at what they do it. I feel like I learned so much from getting that experience. And so yeah, like having specific requests or specific things you can offer them, or like if there's work that they don't want to do and they want a little helper, like offer to help them out with that. And kind of, I guess, fabricate or like create opportunities to collaborate with people that you really admire. And those are going to be some of the best like learning opportunities that I think you'll get, or at least that I've gotten.
Awesome.
Yeah, Grace was mentored by one of the greatest PMs to come out of like DBT labs, and it really shows that like Grace is incredible PM. Well, I think that just to kind of like wrap this up, folks, it sounds like what I really want like listeners to hear is everyone's stories, and and feeling like, can you relate to some of them? And reach out, if like some of our stories connected with you. This is not going to be the last. This is the first of many. We'll be having a podcast episode every month we're aiming for. It sounds like some of the like little bit of tidbits we've heard is that Excel is a gateway drug.
Yes, absolutely.
Life is short. Ask for what you want.
Yes.
Your interview doesn't stop when the actual interview stops, and everyone here is kind of fucking badass. Low key, high key. So for the next few episodes, we're going to be talking about things like data dilemmas. We're going to be talking about like breaking like glass ceilings, if you will, and other contentious topics. This is going to be a fun time, y'all. So please, if you're on YouTube or wherever this is being recorded, follow, subscribe, connect on social, share your data journey in the comments.
Yes.
And
we want to hear.
Yeah, we want to hear them all. So see y'all then. Thank you for listening to The View on Data.
Yay! Thank you.
The View on Data is sponsored by DBT Labs, produced by Katie Chubb, edited by Jeff Fox, and created by Balaji Oyejide. If you enjoyed the show, leave us a 5-star review or share with a friend. Thanks for listening.